Nice.
They're approaching. They're going to be here soon.
Okay.
Okay. All right, everyone. Now is the time. We got them all right. Just like we talked about. Everybody, give it up for Amanda and Derek.
Hello, testing. Testing, there we go.
We all on?
Hi, everybody. Guys, thank you so much for coming out to see us.
Is she on? Am I?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Good stuff. Okay. So, thanks for coming out. I'm so happy to see you. Oh my gosh, and thank you for joining us again. All right. So, as I did, focus.
I'm asking if people can see okay, because I'm trying to do this. I have a background in theater. I want to make sure everyone's included. I don't want to do this the entire time.
Well, you're a very active participant, so you'll include everybody.
How dare you?
He's always running around the stage.
It's true.
It's true. All right, so I want to start off by asking each of you about your acting journey. How did you get involved in this craft?
Sorry, that is the best.
You're like, it seems like a million years ago.
It does. It kind of feels that way. I started my acting journey. I was in middle school, doing theater and did high school theater, and then fell into modeling and fell out of modeling and then back into acting, and really started to pursue it seriously when I was 18, and fell in love with it. Just decided I needed more to do it.
I'm so low. Can you hear me okay? It's really weird. My journey started in high school, where at one point I was playing, since I was younger, even younger than high school, playing Dungeons and Dragons. And my mom's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I'm like, or what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't need to be rich or famous. I just want to create with my friends. Like, I want to do this the rest of my life. How do we do this?
Yeah.
And acting was basically the closest thing. I fell into it in high school, which led me to improv comedy, because we went and did a field trip to a local comedy place. I had no idea what improv was and fell in love with it. So I was doing theater, doing improv full time. I got hired to do the show, which we met originally, which we were from the same hometown.
Yeah.
And she
And we
gave me
didn't, no, technically we didn't actually meet because I was 10.
True. Okay.
And I was sitting in the back of the pizzeria watching you perform your improv.
So weird.
At the pizzeria. I was telling him about that because one of our audience members said you were the nicest person ever. And I'm like, well, funny story. Yeah, hometown hero, and he really is that amazing.
Oh, that's so nice.
Anyway,
That's so nice. Man, you go too big.
Come on.
But no, the short end of it was at the same time going to college, I majored in acting. I got to the point where I took the big leap and moved to LA. My first big audition was for the Wild West stunt show, where they took actors and crossed them into stunts, and stunt people would cross into act, and I was an actor, and they taught me to do some of the stunts for the show, because I had a background in like family martial arts. I was like, wait, I worked out, I can be the big bad guy in TV and film. So a lot of the stunt guys, the acting career started taking off, which has been wonderful. But on the stunt side, my friends were all stunt guys, and they were built like action figures, where it's ridiculous, like, six-pack, speed bump abs, hey, we're gonna go learn air ram or work some fights today. You want to come? And I'm like, wait, that would make me a better actor to be the big bad guy. So I want to do this. So I started making a name doing acting and stunts, and it's got to the point now where Hollywood doesn't think you have two different skill sets, and it's all been acting. No, I secretly do stunts from time to time when things are part of it, but I don't say it. And it's been great. It's very, very thankful.
That way they don't have to hire a stunt guy.
Well,
You're like, I
free.
know I can do that.
I can do that, guys. Come on.
We can save you some money, right?
Oh my God. I actually do the opposite. I'm like, no, hire that. No, like, I try to explain, like, to some actor friends, I'm like, let your double do it at least once, so that way they can make their bonuses and take care of their family. Because some of the actors are like, no, I can do it. I go, no, they're going to want to use your face as much as possible.
Yeah.
But at least let your double do it once, so that you can be taken care of.
Right.
And they're like, oh, I didn't know that. I'm like, yes. So coming from both worlds, something. If it were Dungeons and Dragons, I would be multi-classed. Nerd.
I want to ask each of you about a couple of things you've done independently, other than Friday the 13th, like I did last time. Okay, because this is not the only thing either of you have done. You guys both have an amazing career. I wanted to start with you. You did this amazingly beautiful film, important film about stalking called Shadow of Fear.
Yeah.
Can we discuss your experiences on that? How did that come into your life? It was so well made, and I know it's based on fact, and unfortunately, in the real story, she didn't make it. But yeah, can you talk about that?
Yeah, it was really eye-opening for me. I didn't realize some of the laws that don't really protect people when they're being stalked, and it's really, really scary. The film was when it came to my desk, I was really interested. When I read it, I was like, oh, this is interesting, and didn't realize that it was based on true events until I sort of signed on for it. And it was shot in 10 days in Florence. And yeah, it was really fast and furious, but I got to work with my old friend Will Estes, who we did Reunion together. And it was really great to have him, he's such a wonderful actor, to work with, because it's such a vulnerable subject. And
so scary.
And he really
That's how good he is. He was scary.
you really pulled that one out of your back pocket. Like, that's a really obscure.
I love that movie.
Thank you.
First of all, it's currently streaming. I think it's on TV right now. It might be on YouTube. I don't know. But it is out there still to have seen if you're interested.
It was an indie that ended up on Lifetime. I didn't realize that they sold it again, so that's great.
Yeah,
It's
no,
still-
yeah, it's out there somewhere on one of the streamers. And Catherine Hicks is also in it. Love her. Isn't she the sweetest? Yes. Anyway, such a good, important movie.
Thank
so
you.
I try to tell people all about that one.
Thank you.
It's a good one.
It is. It really is. It's informative, if nothing else.
Moving back to horror, though, you know, fun horror as opposed to real horror, right?
Yeah.
Return to House on Haunted Hill.
Yes, Return to House on Haunted Hill. I think what was really interesting about doing that film is it was the height of video games really sort of exploding, and they made, I think it was like 7 or maybe 8 different endings. And it was sort of, if you had an Xbox and you bought the film on DVD, you can choose your own adventure, essentially. And yeah, and you
That's
can,
so gypped.
Yeah, me too. I'm like, what?
so a lot of people that have seen it on television or have like just rented it don't know this, but if you get the actual disc and you put it in like a hard drive and watch it, you can choose the path that the characters
And you
take.
get an
and
Xbox.
there's a bunch of different endings, and yeah, it was. I think we're hoping it was going to hit in a certain way, and it kind of never really did. But it was a really interesting experience because it was like shooting multiple movies at once.
That's crazy. I didn't know that, and I have the DVD, but I don't have an Xbox. So I never even knew that. I'm going to have to buy an Xbox now. Now, for that one, had you seen the original, like from the 60s, or the remake from the 90s? Where you did that?
Not until I had signed on to do the film.
Did you? And you saw both of them before you did that, or?
I saw the one that Ali Larder did.
Okay, gotcha.
Because it was mostly based. Yeah, it was a sequel from that one. So so I saw that one to just sort of fill in.
Are you a horror fan? Do you enjoy horror?
Horror films give me nightmares.
Yeah.
I have to watch them in the morning with my lights on.
You're so sweet.
You're like Dr. to me. Okay, last one for you. You did a couple of episodes, crossover episodes of Chicago PD, Chicago Fire in its early years.
I did.
I live in Chicago, so I get to watch a lot of their filming from afar on that. And I know some of the people, because I work in restaurants, they all come into my restaurant.
Yes,
you know,
of
every now
course.
and then. Back then especially. Can you talk about your experiences of working in Chicago on that show?
It's really cold in Chicago in February.
You're telling me.
The windy city. No, it was, I had a really amazing experience, and part of the setup for the character was to pitch Chicago Med. And so it was sort of like a pilot for Med without being a pilot. And it was their version of a pilot so that they could pitch it to the network to get Med to series. And it was a really interesting time for me. I had a young child, and so she was a pediatric doctor. And so there was all these like sort of little things that kind of I was able to lace into the character, and I had just come off the mentalist as well, and it was a really great group of people, and it was a fun project to be a part of, but it was just a short stint.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Med didn't take right away. Like 5 years later, that happened, right? But eventually it did. Eventually it did.
Yeah.
So not bad. All right, so are you ready?
Yeah. I've seen a fire before. I've seen police officers. This is awesome.
So your career in acting, playing monsters, all of it is so overwhelming to look at. So
Thank you.
yes, I just pulled a few out. Can we talk about Dead Snow 2?
I will lose my mind. I love that so much. Yes.
Can we please?
Yeah. Can I tell you stories? Do you
Tell
want
me
to ask me a question?
anything and everything you want to tell
Can
me.
I tell you how I got involved with it? And also tie into the fandom. It's pretty cool. So I try to explain to people how strange my life is. Where at one point I'm at home watching Dead Snow 1 on Netflix, which is in Norwegian and with subtitles. And those of you who don't know what Dead Snow is, it's a Norwegian Nazi zombie movie in the snow. Crazy. As I'm watching, I'm like, oh my God, like, these Norwegian cats really understand the balance between violence and humor. And I go, these are the two sides of my coin. I'm like, oh man, I would love to work with them someday. And if you haven't seen the film before, it's very much like Evil Dead 2, where it's not sold as a comedy. It starts dead serious, but as it continues, it gets campier and campier, and on purpose. So, cut to like a couple months later, I get offered the job, and the reason I take the job is because it's the writer-director from the Norwegian writer-director, Tommy Wirkola. It's his first big U.S. feature, like multi-million-dollar show, and I was like, what? That's him? And so I got cast as Edward the Troll, where it's called Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters.
Love it.
With Jeremy Renner and Gemma Arterton. And I got to be the giant troll Edward, where it starts off bad, but then, he's got a heart of gold and the joys of the main team, of the main four. Most difficult job I've ever done in my entire life. It broke me physically, honestly. I'll tell you that in a second. But the weird full circle was, at one point, I'm in a pub. We shot 3 months in Berlin. I'm in a pub in Berlin where Tommy hired, he couldn't put them in bigger parts, but he hired all his friends from Dead Snow as smaller parts in the film, and we're all hanging out in a pub in Berlin, and at one point, a guy walks over and he's like, hello, Derek, I am a producer from Dead Snow. A lot of people do not know, but we are going to do Dead Snow 2. We are big fans of your work, and we know that you like Dead Snow, so we have written you a part for Dead Snow 2 that we would like you to come to Norway to shoot. And I'm like, what? Can we leave now? Because I'm a huge horror nerd, and I love that series. And if the first one is Evil Dead 2, Dead Snow 2 is Army of Darkness on steroids, bombs. Like, my wife is like crazy about it. Anytime it comes on, like, can we just watch it? I know you're in it, but yeah, fuck that. Can we just watch it? I'm like, yeah, cool. If you get a chance, I don't know, I think it's free on Tubi now. It is so much fun. But the other part of the story was, while I was filming I'm wearing this suit that is so unbelievable. I'm like a 9-foot tall troll. I have a fully animatronic head. The studio wants to CG the character from the get-go. We assemble the right team together over at Spectral Motion. We're like, we're going to do this practical. They're like, you're crazy. No, we're going to pull this off. It was so heavy. that was so big, I was like an MMA fight shape. Week 1 out of a 3-month shoot, herniated disc in my neck pops. Oh. And they're panicking, going, what do we do? What do we do? Like, and I go, okay. I go, well, we have to shoot tomorrow. And I go, look, I've been training with these guys for so long. I go, it's not going to work. And I go, okay. And I go, look, I told you in the very beginning, I would give you blood. I go, this is my time to put up or shut up. And I go, we're going to shoot this, and we're going to push through. And they're like, Derek, every time we put that, I think it was like 180 pounds altogether. Every time we put that helmet on, it's going to crush your spine, and it's going to be excruciating. I go, yeah, I'm aware of that. So my whole right side atrophied. Like I could do like so many pulls, like slow pull-ups before. I couldn't do one. It took me almost a year to heal. And while we were filming, I would get those like, the way I describe it, you've seen Empire Strikes Back, when Han Solo is captured in Bespin, and the giant needles come in and he gets stabbed. I have those all on my back, like those giant needles. I got like epidurals like stuck over and over again. I couldn't move like very well at all. At one point, a guy's putting my suit on. He moved my arm this much, and I screamed. And I go, "You have to tell me, dude." And he's like, "Cool." But so rewarding. We pulled it off. Like we were doing things. So much of it was me doing acting blind, but have a chemistry with somebody inside this giant Death Iron Maiden suit. Incredibly difficult, but we pulled it off, and when you watch it, it is the most articulate animatronic thing I've ever experienced or seen, and it's really, really cool. But yeah, that was a crazy, crazy time of my life.
It's a new definition to artist pain.
What was that?
It's like a completely different artist pain.
Oh, brutal. Yeah, it was. Yeah, there were so many times where like not sleeping, I basically had a broken neck in a sense.
That's crazy.
But we pulled it off as a team, and the movie came out, it was accepted.
That's dedication.
Yeah.
Right.
Brutal.
Yeah.
There's an old adage on the sun side, it's called pain is temporary, but film is forever.
Yes, it is.
So it's like, suck it up.
That's right. Now, you worked with John Carpenter in Masters of Horror. Is that true?
Yes.
Because I read that on the internet, so it might not be true.
Yeah, no.
Can you talk about that experience?
Yes, I'm a horror nerd. I was up for a different film at the time, and they never locked me in. And then Howard Berger from K&B calls up, and he goes, "Hey, you want to come to Canada and do a Master of Horrors episode with Carpenter and Ron Perlman?" I'm like, "Do I get on the flight right now, or how do we do this? Do I pay you? What's the deal?" And he goes, No. So, long story short, I got to work with John Carpenter. We did an episode called Pro-Life, which was a controversial episode, if you can imagine why. But it was such a cool experience because it was the first time, originally I was supposed to go up for the first season for a different character, but unless you were the main star, Canada wouldn't pay for another person to come up because they had to match you with another actor of one of their actors, just as a pay scale, so we're not taking Canadian work away. So when the second one came, it was a big deal to have me come up, and also at the time, they made an A-list like monster suit for me to wear that is like, at the time, a lot of times the TV quality would be less than feature. They made a full-blown feature suit for this episode for Carpenter. And it was a big thing. Like, no, we got this guy coming up. He's like, he's going to be great. So I show up, and it was a huge issue where we did a dog and pony show where what that means is we had all the producers come out and they wanted to see, what the suit looked like, and how it moved, kind of give an example of what it was supposed to be. So I'll act it out. So what happens is Howard puts on my helmet, I get locked in. The producers, it's like Nick Garris, by the way, like horror icon, Carpenter, other people, like crazy. So like Howard's like in my ear, like, "Okay, man, you ready for this? You psyched him? Yeah, you got this guy. No. Okay, here we go. Let's do it." And he walks back over and hangs out with the producers. And I'm in the suit and I walk out and they're watching me and they're just doing this. And they go, "Okay, Derek, and action." And I go, "Roar. Get you." The producers are dead silent. They're like, Howard goes, finally one moment. Then he walks over and goes, you motherfucker. He goes, A, fucking hilarious. B, do your goddamn job. He hits me in the back of the head. I'm like, I come back up, I'm doing my right thing. And they're like, all the producers go, okay. Oh, great. Oh, it looks great. And Howard's just shaking his head, looking at me, smiling the entire time. And I'm like, yeah, that's how I got introduced to John Carpenter. Like, hey guys, nice to meet you. Like, we're just fucking around. Oh, I'm not fired? Let's go. So crazy. But one quick thing about Carpenter I thought was so freaking cool. The whole show takes place inside of a hospital. And as I'm looking at it, I'm walking around with the AD and he's showing me around. And there's different, fake, sets set up around the studio. We walk by one of the places, and there's like a fire facade, a fake fire facade. There is a coat rack with a velvet jacket hanging, jacket off of it. There's a velour painting above the fireplace, and I'm like, where in the script is this? I don't remember this. And then he goes, oh, no, that's John's thinking area. I'm like, what? What is that? And they go, oh, in between he'll go and have smoke. He'll put his jacket on, and he'll sit in this giant velour chair in front of a fake fireplace and smoke and think about what's happening. I'm like, no. So later on in the day, if the restrooms are by Amanda, this way, this is where the fire facade is. Dum Dum Derek does this, like, I'm gonna go to the restroom, and John's sitting there, I'm like, and I turn and I look at John, and John is like, John is like, and I look at him, and I go like, thank you, John. And he goes, like the eyebrow goes up, like, why? And I go, I had as a fan, I had a certain expectation about you and how you're an eccentricity and like how you are as a person. This is above and beyond what I had thought, and I love it. And he goes, oh my god, so cool. But then we started talking about video games. He's a giant video game nut, and we just hit it off, and it was so much fun. So I got to work with John Carpenter, and I don't believe it to this day.
See, this is why I ask the weird questions about the weird projects, because we get stories like this. I'm just saying, it's my favorite thing. Okay.
We're all kids, man. We all, again, like, as horror fans, we love the same stuff. Like, I try to pull that Hollywood curtain of Oz, where I'm like, hey, don't tell these stories like publicly, because I want to keep telling the stories to other people. But like, I work with celebrities, I really don't care. But I go to these cons and like a lot of horror actors I grew up loving, like, oh, Robert Englund and I are friends? Oh, he knows I exist? Nope, look how cool and calm I am. Nope, I'm losing my mind. So I try to share that with everybody as much as possible.
You do know that's how I am with you, considering the history I have watching you as a kid, as a young performer. Like, Derek and I are kind of friends. What? You know my name? Are you kidding? Yeah, I'm
totally friends.
I'm serious. Like that's my feeling with you. But, based solely on that early childhood and me starting to get interested in performing in that way. I was a figure skater performer, so like an athlete performer, right? But then I got involved in the theater and stuff, and I'm just like, I want to do that. He's so funny. How can I do that?
Did you know also because the location, the improv bounced to different locations from time to time. Did you know that I actually worked at that pizza parlor?
Yes. Yes, I did. Because, okay, can I tell a funny story?
Sure.
One of my first boyfriends was your manager.
Wait, what?
His name is also Mears. Brian Mears.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
He's my manager?
Yeah, or a supervisor at that one of those pizzerias.
There was no last name.
Either Shakey's or
Lamppost.
Lamppost or Shakey's, yeah.
Yeah, Lamppost, not Shakey's, but I know.
Yeah.
I know there's a Brian, but I don't think his last name is Mears.
Yeah, it's spelled different than yours, but yeah.
Oh, maybe that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no one named me. No.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one named you. Yeah, no, that was my.
So weird.
He turned out to be one of my first boyfriends.
What isn't he? Wait, you were 10 and he's how old?
We don't have to talk about that.
Okay.
Not at the time.
Oh no, sorry.
Later, like in
She was 12 then.
Like in 2004, like later,
Edit.
Right now.
Hey guys, remember when I made a joke and I had a career? Yeah, that was cool.
It's all right. I'll cut it out. Well, okay. Now, I'm going to ask you one more thing that I did ask you in Vegas, but it just tickles me so much I have to ask it again. Passions. The soap opera passion.
Guys, I've been around a lot. Yeah, I did a soap opera as I came in for a. I did. Don't you judge me?
I'm not judging you. NBC came on after Days of Our Lives. No way.
I just worked a day. I came in for like I was a prisoner in a jail cell, and there was a fight scene that broke out. It was
a supernatural soap opera. You know, there was a witch. It was like Dark Shadows for daytime.
I was at the time I didn't know how they shot soap operas, where literally like so fast. And okay, cool, and moving on. I go, we just did one take. Are we not? They're like, no, moving on. I'm like, Like, hey, this is how we do it in soap operas. We don't play. They just shoot and run. If they have it, they run. Yeah, it was crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Any other memories from working on that whirlwind of the world?
Not so much. No, it was just kind of like a literal whirlwind, and like, yeah.
How did you get that job?
I forget if I auditioned. It's so long ago. I forget if I auditioned or a friend worked on it. I was like, that guy will do it. I don't know. He looks like a thug. Yeah, it's weird. Over the years when I was younger, I would go to like grocery stores or like mini marts. Now, you know, the guys would constantly stare at me in the mirrors, or they like I was going to steal something, so I looked like a thug, or like a terrible person. But now, now that I'm older, I get the complete opposite. Like, do you get the officer discount? Can we have your? And I'm like, I'm not a cop. I'm not. So it's weird.
Oh my God.
I don't know what I am anymore.
The afterlife. All right. It's a loss of identity. Right? Who am I? Okay, audience questions. Who's got it? Raise them up. Start with you.
What was it like working with Ron Perlman?
Ron Perlman.
I've got a brother that got to meet him, and he says he's a fabulous person.
Oh, he was super, super fun. At one point, being a fan of him because I was trying to be cool about it and not lose my shit. Ron came over to me and he looks at me and he has that. He's the type of gentleman who, when he thinks, he doesn't just talk. He takes a moment of pause to think about what he wants to say, and then he says it. And he literally walked over to me when we first met. And he looks at me and he just stares at me in my eyes and goes, "Sometimes you're the guy in the suit, sometimes you're not." And walked off. That's how I met Ron Perlman for the first time. That was pretty cool. I'm like, all right, I like it.
He's going to be in Atlanta.
Oh, in Atlanta?
Yeah, on the 8th.
For a signing?
Yes.
Oh, you're going to see him?
Yeah, I'll be working, helping at the convention as a volunteer.
Oh, that's so cool. Also, it's awesome you're volunteering, man. Thank you.
I'll say hi to you later.
Yeah, please. I'd love it. More questions?
So, I know you said that you were a big horror person and whatnot, and you weren't as big into horror. Were you guys into the Friday the 13th franchise before the 2009 remake?
I watched the first one when I booked the job. And I had seen some of them when I was a kid. I was really too young, and my mom would always be like, close your eyes to watch this part. And was traumatized for life. So I've never really been a horror fan, but I appreciate the horror fandom and the loyalty and how great the fans are with horror films.
For myself, two things scared me as a child. One was the Bigfoot from $6 Million Man, which is Andre the Giant. And the other thing that gave me nightmares was Jason Voorhees. I always considered myself a horror fan before being an actor, because as a child, Friday the 13th is my favorite franchise. Jason's my favorite horror character. There are times, because I grew up with, I still have alopecia, though I grew up weird facial hair now, which is weird. But my hair would fall out when I was younger, so emotionally I was trying to figure out, it started happening in grammar school, figuring out who I was, because my hair would grow in, it would fall out, grow in. I'm like emotionally up and down, like, oh, I'm different, I'm a monster. And when I watched part 4 of the old school, like rent, VHS, and like when Corey Feldman comes downstairs and he shaved his head to look like Jason, that's actually what I looked like at the time. I had little tufts of hair growing here and there, and I was like, oh, oh wow, like I'm like a little version of Jason. Like, oh, that's okay, that's cool. It's a total mind tweak as an adult. Now I get to play that character and give a whole new generation nightmares. It's really mind-blowing. So very, very grateful and thankful, and also thankful for everyone's love and support all these years. It's been phenomenal, honestly.
You did step into like an impossible situation. It's so hard to take over characters like that, especially like Kanan played it for so long. So we were used to seeing Kanan, and then we had Freddy versus Jason, and then you, right? And so it's like, oh, fuck it up. You know? Like, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it's crazy. Because as artists, we all take it. If we all play Peter Pan in this room, we're all going to do something different because of our different life experiences and what we bring to the table. So it's never a competition. Sometimes fans will come over and like, oh, so-and-so's my favorite. I go, oh, it's not a competition. Like who you like. Because a lot of times the guy that you like is the one that brought you to the series. And anytime I do a reboot, I've been lucky to reboot a lot of iconic characters. When I meet with producers, I try to explain to them if they haven't done something like that before, I go, you have to be respectful to the fandom that brought that IP to where it currently is, but you have to take a risk for a whole new generation of newer fans who are younger, who have no idea what this is. So you put some sort of new spin on it, but the hope is, and always in my opinion is, that new generation likes that new one so much that they'll go back and watch the originals, all of them, and now you're part of the family. And a lot of times I get so excited when fans come on the table, because a lot of times when someone tells me that, that was the first one I saw, I go, did you go back and watch the originals? I go, oh yeah. I'm like, oh, mission accomplished. That's exactly, welcome to the family. So very, very lucky. But also, it's a wild experience because when we did 09, everyone, if you know, all the actors are stellar actors, and everyone's like blown up since then. But we're all still friends, and we all still communicate, and no one has an attitude. No one's like, you know who I am? Or like, no, hey, remember when we did that? Like, there's a time when Amanda on set stood up for me, which was so nice because we were in the scene when she was chained up. I don't know if you remember this.
I don't.
Oh, awesome. There's a time when she's chained up, and we were doing the scene with that emotional scene where Jason is confused because he doesn't know his mother's his only tie to love in the entire world, and she's no longer here. And so with her, he's confused, going like, I love you, you're my mother, I want to be, but also, you're the one that killed my mother, I want to destroy you. And so he's not taking we were, oh, he doesn't take hostages. That's not what's happening. He doesn't know what to do with her because emotionally, he's like, I want the love, but I also want to kill you, what do I do? And so when she would get into character, I've known Amanda's worked with her, and hung out with her on the show, even on the off times, a lot of us were hanging out, and loving who she is as a person, and she would get into this emotional state, such a professional. She would lock into the zone and she would weep and like get in that zone. It would hurt me listening to her do that. And while we're doing the scene, while I'm deciding, you notice when I hit the gate behind her or whatever, at one point, somebody off camera was talking out loud and making a joke or something. And I go, no. And Amanda, during my coverage, and Amanda at church, shut the fuck up. Like, why the fuck would you do that? Like, because like she was basically going like, just because he's wearing a mask, like he's an actor. Like, give him fucking the respect. Like, if he's doing it, you don't see what he's doing. They weren't watching. And so like she stuck up for me, and in the middle of the scene, like put this person in their place. And I was like, oh man, like that was a real special moment for me. And I'm like, thank you.
I'm sorry for the person that yelled at.
Sounds like they might have had it coming though.
Well, I think it's, when you're doing those emotional scenes, it's so hard to stay in that place. And, I think sometimes the crew can lose sight of what it is that we do as actors, and the emotional space that we have to live in order to give the performance that is going to be on film forever. And in those moments, it's really imperative that there's respect for that, and we have the space to perform and to do our job. And those are the moments that it's our turn to be able to have our opportunity to do our job. And when the crew is lighting and they're doing all of their setup, that's their turn. So I think that sometimes that gets a little lost in the mix, and I'm a real stickler on it because I think it's important for actors to have the stage when it's their time to have the stage.
For sure. The one thing, actually, when you talk about pulling the Hollywood curtain of Oz open, sometimes actors get bad raps where they're like, oh, that guy was a jerk, or, oh, like when Christian Bale, the famous thing when he yelled on Terminator and yelled at the lighting guy, I go, you're only getting one side of the story. I had friends who were there and saw everything go down, and I go, it's the lighting guy's fault. And I go, you don't understand it. He talked to him multiple times, Christian talked to him multiple times, being cool, but when we get those heightened states, like for myself, like we're Swamp Thing, like I'm playing manic for 8 months. And emotionally, there's scenes where one where I'm being tortured and bawling and crying. And if my personality is a radio dial. My personality is over here. To me, to get to that zone, that emotional, vulnerable zone, is way over here. So rather than jumping from this all the way over to here, while we're filming for that day, I'll stay closer in this zone and kind of be on my own. But I also try to tell people, cast and crew, before we start filming, I go, hey, this is operate. If I have an emotional scene coming up or whatever, I go, so sometimes when we come over, like I'm prepping to get into the zone, like, hey, so when you did that scene in this other film, hey, could you take a picture? I'm like, hey man, like I'm losing my mind right now. I don't want to be like, oh, you're so rude and turned away. I don't do that. So I explain to people, I go, if you see me there, and I go, I'm always open. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I go, but I still have a desk in front of me where I'm going through all my lines I've memorized, what emotionally I need to be in that scene, so you understand where I'm coming from. But as an audience, a lot of times you get the propaganda of like, oh, that person was a jerk or this or that. And the other experience I've learned is sometimes like, why is that actor being like, or that lady so standoffish? Like I met her, it's like, ugh. I go, oh, you've experienced stalkers or something who's like done terrible things to you, or oh, and you're on guard. So you're not being a jerk, you're trying to protect yourself, so you try to understand where people are coming from. And for myself as an actor, I want to explain to everybody before doing that, so you don't just think, and I'm like, oh, that guy's so full of himself. No, I'm doing a scene where I've just lost my child coming up, and it has to be real for me, because if it's not, you're going to be able to read as an audience member. So I'm trying to do my job. So I try to explain that Hollywood curtain of what we do. Again, like with Amanda on, like it was so emotional for Friday, she would professionally take herself to the side of the set and just hear her get into her zone. We all have different processes to get emotionally where we need to be. And hearing you wail at a certain time, like sob and moan, like I teared up just listening, in the Jason outfit. Like it was so emotional and raw.
It was a hard shoot. It was a great shoot. It was great camaraderie and a wonderful, wonderful cast, but it was a very difficult shoot to perform because of the emotional state, and especially for Whitney, because all of it was crying, screaming, and I really had a hard time sleeping because we were doing night shoots. I had such a difficult time sleeping during the day. So I was always just felt really drained and exhausted, which I used.
I just think that works with the character.
Put it into the character, and by the end of it, I felt like a vampire, and it took a few months to kind of just get back into a normal rhythm of life.
Because the other thing people don't realize, a lot of times as an actor, you're basically lying to your body. Your body doesn't know the difference. So when you lie to your body, it sticks with you, and everyone has different ways they approach it, different techniques. But man, again, if you're into it, as a professional, if I'm playing a cowboy, someone who's a cowboy is going to watch my movie and go, oh, he didn't tie the saddle right. Because he didn't hold the reins right. You have to learn, in my opinion, of everything about that person's or the character's profession that you're doing, because someone is actually going to have that profession. And if you don't do it precisely to a T, I'm not going to go, nope, and that pulls them out of the film.
That's me when I watch figure skating movies or shows. I'm like,
so you know about figure skating?
yeah, because that's what I did.
See, crazy, right?
Yeah, I'm like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, they should have hired a real skater. that's every time I'm like, Anyone over here? Yes.
Yes, Derek. Your roles often involve playing big, intimidating characters. How do you bring emotion and depth to these performances, especially while you're wearing heavy prosthetics?
Honestly, like it's finding the it sounds so accurate, the emotional truth of the character, where especially for villains, like no villain sees themselves as a villain. So you kind of find like, it's almost like if your own personal life is from A to Z, the character's life is from 1 to like 26 or whatever, you find where to kind of like blend the two together, but it's almost like you're making justifications of lying to yourself. Like, I would never go and like, you know, be a total jerk to someone out of nowhere and try to fight somebody. But if I lie to myself going like, hey, that guy just kicked your dog that you love so much, or like, the fuck did you do, dude? Like, I will rip your goddamn head off. Like, and so you use these different experiences. I try to tell other younger actors, go, whatever life experience, pro or con, that you have, that's your paint for your palette to paint from. Anytime I'm going through something tough in my life, or emotional, or emotional breakup or something with someone, I'm going, even though I feel like at the bottom of where I am in life, I'm like, wait, this is something that I can use. The positives, the cup half full side is, I can use this later on for my work, because now I've experienced that and I know what it feels like. So it just adds more color to your palette.
Any other questions out there? Right there?
Since you guys have both done episodic TV and like blockbuster movies, what's the big difference for you in doing each of them, and which one do you prefer?
I think they each have their pros and cons. I think with episodic television, you get the scripts very last minute. When I was filming The Mentalist, we normally typically it'd be like 5 days before we would start filming, we would get the first script, but there would be multiple changes, and we would even sometimes get changes on the day that we were filming. Not that you don't have that with film, you do as well, but with film, it's an allotted block of time that you know you've got 3 weeks or 6 months or whatever period of time it's going to be, and it's one script that you're working on. Whereas episodic, it's constantly in flux, and sometimes things will change based on what the audience is responding to and what they're not responding to. And they'll take things into the writer's room and be like, this is really not working, just the audience is not responding to it. And I think especially now with streaming, it avails the producers to see what's trending and what works and what doesn't. And so it informs them how they're going to sort of make the progress of the show go, or which direction they're going to go with it. So they're two different mediums. I don't know if I prefer one over the other. Now that I've done both, I feel like when I was doing television, I just wanted to do film. Now that I've done film, I'm like, I kind of like television. I kind of waffle back and forth between the two. For me, it's mostly about the character and finding a character that keeps me engaged and has growth and a really interesting arc.
That's a great answer. Also, I love how deep we're getting in all this. Like, this is super fun.
Just wait till you hear my final question.
What? I agree with Amanda. Especially the time essence with film, you have locked out time and you know what you're doing, you know what your character is. And with doing TV, even your personal life, it's like the analogy I use is a conveyor belt, where episode 1, as it's coming up, we're about to shoot. I'm soft memorizing now. While we're shooting episode 1 of the series, when I get off work, I'm going home and I'm still working because now I'm soft memorizing episode 2. And so as we're finishing 1, and now we're going into 2, I'm doing the same thing. I'm now applying what I've learned for 2. Now I'm soft memorizing 3. So when people are like, hey, we're in town, we're going to come hang out, I go, guys, I have no time. Because it's go, 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 and
it's grueling.
It's
Television,
brutal.
well, they don't really do it like when I was on The Mentalist, we did 24 episodes a season. And so we were filming 10 months out of the year. And they don't really do TV like that anymore. Because most of the streamers are, 10 episodes. But that kind of schedule it's really, really difficult for the crew.
Yeah.
And especially when you're doing 16-hour days, 5 days a week for 10 months out of the year, it's really hard. But you become like a family. Like you're with each other all day long, every day. And, I think when I was in it, there were, times I was like, oh, this is so exhausting. But now I'm like, I kind of miss it. There's an insulated sort of family dynamic that you kind of get accustomed to.
Well, it's kind of like the symbolism is like being in not in the same extent, of course, not downplaying the war, but you're in the mix, and like things are going wrong, you're problem solving. People sometimes they cast out a personality because like when you're week 4 and you're in that something's going to go wrong eventually, and people are going to get on each other's nerves or like something. It gets crazy, but when you kind of survive these grueling schedules because you're away from your family a lot of the time, you don't know what your days are going to be. You don't just have an 8-hour day.
Yeah.
And there's always some problem, some fire you're putting out somewhere, and it just gets so draining. But
there's a dynamic that's born.
Yeah.
In that chaos.
Yeah.
That I think is very unique to itself. And each project has its own unique dynamic of fire to put out.
Yeah, for sure. But is that bonding going? Like it's almost like the stress bonding. Where it's like, oh yeah, maybe I was there too. You survived. Very cool. Yeah. But again, we're so lucky to do what we do because with TV and film, in my opinion, we're telling modern myths, modern mythology. So with story in general, in my opinion, the reason we have story is to let somebody know we have it just as bad or worse than we do, or have an escapism, but ultimately go, hey, it's going to be okay. And so you learn from other people, or like, even as kids, when you're like, oh, I got picked on by the bully, but, oh, wait, what would Batman do? Batman would do this, and I'm going to stand up and like, so we learn, as humans from each other, from our own, modern mythologies. So that's what we're doing.
So to wrap it up, you just touched on it. You guys have both done a lot of different things that are very important to a lot of people, right? Whether it's Jason Voorhees or a movie about stalking, which I know touches everybody, right? Or playing a heroine in a Friday the 13th movie, right?
I thought you said playing with heroin. Oh my God.
Playing with heroin.
No, that's bad.
I missed that.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
I missed that. What do you guys want your legacy to be? What do you want your legacy to be?
Go ahead, Derek.
I'm really not worried about my legacy at all. Like my whole thing is like, I feel my purpose in life is to tell story, and I'm in a very lucky situation. Like I keep saying, I'm a fan representing the fans, and again, I want to open up as much as my experience to share with other people. I love that I can come out in between TV and film jobs to do conventions like this to say hi, because my whole thing is like, hey man, my life philosophy is no one is better than anybody else. We all have skills in different areas, but you respect everybody until they give you a reason not to. So my job, I'm just here to tell you a story, man. I can't do what you do. Like if you're a groundskeeper, if you're a doctor, it doesn't matter what the job is. We all have an importance, and that to me, if I can help you through whatever it is, the story that I'm telling, that's perfect. That's great for me. I really don't think about my legacy at all, honestly.
I want to tell meaningful stories, things that touch people's hearts, or change them, or entertain them. I just enjoy what I do, and grateful to be able to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you guys very much. Give it up.
Thank you so much for coming out. This is Jibber Jabber. Like, I know we're all here to talk more. And even though the world is really kind of crazy and weird right now, I love that we can come to a place just to escape and lean on each other and everyone be cool with each other in this fandom. It's a different fandom than most fandoms. Understand that. You guys are special, and thank you so much for the love.
Thank you.